Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of Square Triangle. We are covering Wrestle Dream today, the pay-per-view that Sharky should have gone to, but it's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
The one I was almost about to impromptu take a 3-day train ride across the U.S. for.
What could have been?
What could have been?
Initial thoughts?
I loved this show.
I thought it was a good show too.
There were a few matches that it didn't need to be on it, but I understand in terms of characters like why they're on the main show. But it could have probably been dropped down to 11 matches instead of 13, but I believe that is with pre-show.
13 with the pre-show, yes.
Yeah, so 9 matches isn't bad. It probably could have been 8 and still been great. You'll see that it's a running thing on with the matches that are bad. Fine. So the Jericho match didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
But what can you do? Quick rundown. I didn't watch the pre-show. Did anybody else watch the pre-show?
No, I didn't catch too much of it.
I didn't catch it except for the bit that we talked about before we started recording, where Brian Cage is now the World TV Champion.
Yeah, somehow. Brian Cage defeats Atlantis Jr., who beat Kyle Fletcher for it a few months back. Didn't really do much with it. I don't think he really made Ring of Honor appearances since then. He's mostly a CMLL, I believe is who is AEW's working with now. Mm-hmm. So he's one of their guys. Yeah, Brian Cage is getting a championship.
Atlantis Jr. is also the current NWA World Historic Light Heavyweight Champion. Whatever the fuck that is.
Just throw a few more adjectives onto that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Second match on the pre-show, Anna Jay's push continues as she defeats Harley Cameron. Anna Jay has kind of been feuding with the new outcasts, so to speak, of Harley and Saraya. The Acclaimed with Billy Gunn defeats MXM Collection with Rico. This was the big, a big talking point for a lot of people because some people hated it. Some people loved it. I love seeing a guy like Rico kind of back in a modern era. He's a great comedy act back in Ruthless Aggression. And he's back now being a comedy act again.
I like that he wasn't like the focus of it, right? It was like, this is a fun guy we added. Like what the Acclaim do with Billy Gunn.
Yeah, so he came back. He does have a history with Billy Gunn. He was their assistant with Billy and Chuck when they were their heel tag team. So it was really funny seeing
he was also the
Billy
one
Gunn.
that turned on them.
Yeah, it was really funny seeing Billy Gunn hit Rico with a famouser. It's just kind of brought back to that some of the better parts of the Ruthless Aggression era in terms of mid card. But I'm glad to see that Rico is also
that don't really age.
Well, Rico also, I wanted to point out because I looked it up. Last year he had a health scare, so the fact that he's healthy enough to be back in a wrestling ring and actually active is just a big win for him too.
Yeah.
So
love to see it.
And then the huge heel versus face tag team match conglomeration of Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly and the Outrunners, who are fantastic and organically growing, and I'm pretty sure they'll be the ones to beat Young Bucks at this point. The crowd is just behind Outrunners so much right now. Versing the Dark Order and Premier Athletes. And yeah, babyfaces win. Nice little finale to the pre-show.
I'm a big fan of having these big person tag team matches on a pre-show. Just it's a good idea every time. Get everyone that little pay-per-view check.
Yeah. Orange Cat. This isn't the last appearance of Orange Cassidy. He does show up at the end of the show, but we'll get to that too. Getting into the main card, we had thoughts about Jay White and Adam Page, and I thought it was like a sleeper cook, about to happen, and oh my god, it was. This match.
You guys haven't heard my thoughts yet because I watched it aside from you guys.
Yeah,
I was out getting drunk on the day of, so I had to catch you up to do.
Yeah,
I don't blame you for that.
Yeah. So I liked this match. It was a really solid opener. Yeah, it's very solid. It's wrestling shows need a foundation to start to where the rest of the show will grow upon.
Yeah.
And like CM Punk versus Drew was a good foundation to start Bad Blood on.
But then nobody could really keep up with it. That was the issue with Bad Blood.
That's not their fault.
Yeah. But this did set
They-
a challenge to the rest of the locker room. Like, hey,
Yes.
we had we had a non like spot heavy match, but we still had a great fucking wrestling match.
Yes. I thought it was a really good opener.
Yeah. X, what did you think about this match? Me and you were watching it in the Discord.
Yeah, this was a great opening match. Jay White and Hangman Adam Page. I didn't think much of it when it first got going, but because they only had like a couple of weeks, but man, with what they had and the time they had to do it, they pulled this off. I mean, this was a fantastic opening match. You know,
I don't think
and those guys really do work together well. So it felt like a very
I was good. Sorry.
it felt like a very, New Japan Pro Wrestling-esque match.
Yes.
A little bit.
I like this match. Or if you have anything to add, Deca?
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think the story was quite there for me. Like, whatever. I don't care. The match itself was really good.
I mean, it did build over like the course of 2 weeks, so it was what it was. But for what we got, it was pretty impressive.
I want to say the story to this match was kind of weak building up to it, but this was the perfect result too. You have Hangman losing in Swerve's hometown.
Yes.
To build a new babyface right out of Jay White, who's just come back, from injury.
While also being a middle finger to Hangman Page at the same time.
Yes.
Yes.
So this was a good way of like, everybody likes Jay White. He beat Hangman in Swerve's territory. It's kind of like a little way to cheat in like a new babyface push. And I hope this is the start of, Jay White's build again. This match had a great in-ring storytelling. A lot of Jay White's actions were focused on Hangman's legs. And it kind of went back to the finish too, where he was having a hard time doing the buckshot lariat. And also it's just great in-ring psychology too, because he's setting up for the buckshot and Jay is stumbling like closer to him so he can't get it off. Like, it's just all these like little like interactions in the ring. And then he catches the buckshot into a Blade Runner, which was a great way to finish this match because it went so smooth. I think X and I were talking about it. It's like, that was a really smooth like transition into the Blade Runner to hit that finish.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm just like, God, this match was great.
I'm a big fan. This match also got like 16 minutes, so great amount of time. Let them cook.
Let it build to a big crescendo, and then right at that crescendo, the buckshot being countered into a Blade Runner was just the perfect finish for this. And I'm here for the Jay White push. It was
that little bit of hesitation that Hangman had when he was going for the last buckshot for the finish. Yeah,
because he's shaking off the leg that Jay White, had been focusing on in the ring. He hit him with the dragon screw on the ropes. He then dropped him on his knee on the ramp.
Yeah,
like it was a really good spot. So a lot of actual in-ring storytelling here that made sense for why Hangman had issues, hitting his finish like that.
Mm-hmm.
I love this match. If people want to watch like it's just a very good grounded wrestling match, it's this one. Like, I would recommend this one. If it's just you don't want flippy shit, you don't want like spot fest. Just this is a great wrestling match.
If you don't want flippy shit, don't watch the rest of the pay-per-view.
Oh, we'll get to it because goddamn, dude. I think Twitter put it right. Wrestling's great when it's an anime.
But one of the things I like about this anime, if we're going to use the anime analogy, is that it pulls from different genres, but it doesn't pull enough to be this is what we are.
Yeah.
Every single solitary match is a different style of anime.
Oh yeah, there was a thing for everybody here on this card.
Yeah.
These two wrestled like a very, I would say like mid-card New Japan style match. Like, they're not going to be like the overly long New Japan matches. This is just like a 15-minute match between two New Japan guys with a good, convincing finish. So, yeah, I really liked it. Want to move into the next match? Anybody have any other thoughts on Hangman and Jay White? So we follow up.
I was kind of interested to see what they do with Jay White after this.
He's going after Christian now because he was involved with him getting injured. That's kind of the storyline they're building, is he's going after everybody responsible for his injury.
Also, basically, they're doing the same thing with him and Jamie Hayter. You know,
Yeah.
Yes.
she has a whole revenge list going on herself too.
So he got Hangman, he's going for Christian, and then his tweet had a crown. So I'm assuming he's going to start feuding with Undisputed Kingdom. Also at the end of it, before probably getting to Adam Cole, who did return. We'll get to that too. They did their multiple returns in a segment thing that AEW does. But we move on to the AEW's Women's Championship match. Mariah May versus Willow Nightingale. And I was talking to X when this match started. I would actually not be mad if Willow was crowned champion at this point with how over she is and like being an ambassador of the company and all that. Mariah's reign has felt lackluster compared to the build to it, but I also don't think she's getting a lot of actual time to showcase it. It's usually just the same thing with her. You know, she come out, cut a heel promo, have a match with one of the lower card women. But I felt like Willow. I felt this would be a good time to crown Willow.
So I want to liken this to what you were saying about the Outrunners, who are more than likely going to go after the tag championships.
Yeah.
The question when you have such a great build is like, where do you go from there? And I think AEW has kind of missed the boat here with Mariah May just a little bit. It's not a bad thing because they're still pulling out quality matches, but it's not as hot as it could be. And I think that's the thing that they do that WWE doesn't, and vice versa, is that WWE can capitalize on something that gets big, but AEW can build up something to become big.
Yeah. I'm just wondering,
that's their different styles.
I'm just wondering, at this point, who is it? Are they building to hate her again since she lost it while injured? Do they want to give her another run or something? It's just I don't know. The story with Mariah going forward doesn't have really her enemy yet, you know? It's just kind of been feud after feud after feud. And I mean, unless Tony comes back or Mina, you know.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the problem. It's like they haven't had a clear defined direction when it comes to Mariah May. You know, her big thing was winning the dog, going after Tony Storm, building up this whole plot for months to finally get herself in position to win that title. And then just after that, she's just kind of floundering around.
It's funny to think because RJ City was helping, book that storyline and everything. And it's like, once she wins the title, I can imagine RJ just sitting backstage and just being like, oh fuck, what's next? It's just oh shit. Oh fuck, we got here. Now what?
Yeah, and that's what it seems like to me, because now it's just she's just kind of going from place to place. I'm pretty sure they're trying to set her up a thing with Mina when she gets back, when she gets over here eventually, but I'm not sure. I think Mina's off doing other things right now, and I just think she's on hold until they can get either Mina or Tony back in the States for a bit.
Yeah,
that's what it seems like to me, though.
So let's talk about this match for a second. There were some really cool exchanges in this match, though. These women actually work really well together. There was it starts really with the submission hold that Willow had Mariah in, and then she started making her headbutt her own knee, during the submission hold to just kind of daze her a bit. Crowd pop for that. Willow doing a clean moonsault. There's a Mayday that gets hit, but Willow just kicks out. Then there was a really cool exchange, I think, near the end of this match where the pounce was countered with a headbutt, and then Willow just follows through with this a lariat clothesline after bouncing off the rope.
Very New Japan of her.
Yeah. The match then goes to the finish where Willow is trying to top rope powerbomb Mariah. She counters with Hurricane Rana, hits the running knee into a Storm Zero, and retains. Really good ending sequence here. Kind of sloppy a little bit, I think, on Hurricane Rana, but what can you do, when you're that high up and everything? But a really good finish of just getting Willow down and then just hitting a really good running knee into that Storm Zero.
I like this. This match was pretty good.
This match was good. Again, 10 minutes. Just
I think the star of this match is Willow for sure, because Willow has shown me that she can work with literally anybody on the roster.
Which is why I wouldn't have had a problem if she had actually won the title, because you can get a lot of good programs out of her right now.
I feel
as opposed to Mariah.
When we get it, that Willow hater match is going to feed families. Like
Yeah.
I feel like these women are going to beat the shit out of each other. Speaking of beating the shit out of each other, Jack Perry and Katsuyori Shibata for the TNT Championship. I pointed out to X, Shibata is just taking these kicks. Perry does not have kick pads on. Like, this man is just built differently. Like,
Shibata started beating the crap out of Jack Perry like he was a young lion.
Yeah. Again, I think people just don't give Jack Perry the respect he has. This guy can wrestle different kinds of matches. Like, he may not be the best at them, but he can do it, which is a great foundation to have.
Yeah,
you know?
And that's kind of what this match proves, that he's kind of good at everything. You know, he doesn't excel at anything, but he's just kind of good at everything. You know, he can wrestle technical matches, brawling matches. You know, he can do submission stuff. He can do all that stuff. You know, but I think that in the year since the incident with CM Punk, Jack has just taken this character and ran with it. You know,
Yes.
he has probably benefited more from that than I think of anything else in his entire career.
I think Scapegoat Jack Perry is leagues better than whatever Hollywood Jack Perry would have been.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Because at that point, he just became a heel that would be like The Miz or anybody like that. Like, no, this Jack feels infinitely different.
He has an edge to him finally, you know, and I think that's what was missing with his previous heel one.
Yeah.
You know, he
was just cocky.
And we find that, yeah.
Yeah, he was just cocky as
like
Hollywood.
Yeah, he just needed a harder edge to him, and I think he figured that out once he went over to Japan and came back. This is the definitive heel version of Jack Perry right here.
Mm-hmm.
It was like Japan changed him. He came back with a beard. He has been away. He's been traveling.
It's that thing that Japanese wrestlers do where they go on their excursion. It's just the same thing that wrestlers are doing in AEW, like Tony Storm is doing right now.
Yeah, and it's great to go worldwide and learn different styles and different, you know, everything. You just come back, I think you just come back as a better wrestler. You know, the more areas you wrestle in.
As much as we shit on Chris Jericho, rightfully so, because, you know, for any number of reasons nowadays, when he was starting out, he went to every country and learned all of their styles. And by the time he was in the WWE, he'd already worked Japan, Mexico, Canada, like all these different styles.
In that respect, he was like Benoit or Guerrero. Like, he went everywhere. You know, he did ECW, he did WCW, he was New Japan, probably some stints in Mexico. And it's just kind of built an all-around, you know, talent. This match was 9 minutes long, but this match was just a prelude to what followed.
Yeah, there was a lot of post-match
shit. So the end of this match was actually, I think, rather clever. I wasn't actually mad about it. Shibata locks in a sleeper hold. He pulls Jack down, so he's, you know, stuck in the sleeper hold, but Jack bridges him into a pin. And the crowd hates it, but I think that's perfect for Perry's character. Just cheating Shibata out of a win, so it's not hurting either person for the most part.
You notice that we've all been talking about these finishes for a minute, right? This is pretty much most of Wrestle Dream. It had fantastic finishes. I'm not gonna lie. And this is rare, you know, for a pay-per-view.
I feel like most of these matches, with the exception of one, I will get to one that I feel was probably the wrong decision, and that's the tag match, but we'll get to it. So post-match, Jack Perry starts attacking Shibata. Daniel Garcia returns. He has re-signed with AEW. He's back to make the save. Middle of that, MJF returns. MJF is back, and he has some unfinished business with Garcia. And as he's beating Garcia, Adam Cole returns. And it's just instantly, they are like, fuck the devil story. Babyface Adam Cole, heel MJF. Let's go. And
there was a lot that happened.
They did this thing. AEW has this thing of like one return. Oh, only one? No, bitch. 2 returns. It's like one debut. Bryan Danielson? No, Adam Cole's here also. Adam Cole's been part of most of these.
2, like, 3 re-debuts.
He got Jack Perry sneaks Daniel Garcia with the belt. MJF beats him, cuts the promo, says he has the Dynamite Diamond Ring back. Adam Cole returns and chases off, and we are probably seeing the birth of more pillars in the company now. I feel like Jack Perry, Darby Allin, and MJF have kind of solidified themselves. Sammy Guevara's kind of hit or miss still, but now you're seeing Daniel Garcia, Adam Cole, all these people kind of like take that second tier now of the pillars.
I like Sammy. I don't think he's a pillar anymore.
No, the guys are
at the end of this pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's just he's just losing so much steam from unfortunate injuries, from shit he's done in the past. It's just kind of been kind of a rough ride for him. But at this point, I just want him to be healthy. He has a kid now. I hope this like knockout he took doesn't affect his quality of life or anything like that.
I was talking about the knockout. Is this the one where he? Huh?
Yeah, in Ring of Honor, he got knocked down in Ring of Honor and had to be stretchered out. So
okay. Did y'all see when he knocked out? What was it, Jeff Hardy?
Yeah, I saw that. That was like a year and a half ago or something. And then Matt and Jeff were like flipping him off in the ring. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, recently, I think like in the last like 3 weeks or so, he took a knockout and Ring of Honor had to be stretchered out. So like I said, I just hope his quality of life isn't affected, considering he has a kid now and all that too. The company has more than enough people to do what they have to do. Just want Sammy to be healthy. This next fucking match.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Me and X were going fucking crazy in the Discord.
This match cooked.
If you saw this match on the poster, Will Ospreay versus Kenosuke Takeshita versus Ricochet. If this isn't the most Goku Frieza versus Jiren shit I've ever seen in AEW, like for all my Dragon Ball Super fans, this was anime incarnate for fucking AEW.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you have 3 guys with banger intro music? Like, just, and then the crowd still just popping huge for Elevate out of Ospreay. We know that shenanigans are going to happen. Don Callis is out on commentary, as he always is when one of his family is in the ring. Crowd instantly hot for this match. It's so... Oh, God, it's so good. There's so much shit to talk about. Max, what did you think of this match?
I was a little concerned at first. I'm not gonna lie. When they put Takeshita in this match,
the hype can't like live up to what you're seeing on the poster.
Because we already had Will Ospreay and Ricochet, and everybody's seen those matches for a while, and we know that they just bring it every time they're in the ring together. And I didn't know what Takeshita could bring to this match already, but once we got into it, I think we may have found a new world-class athlete, and I think Takeshita has solidified himself as such. And I think Tony Khan might want to consider hanging on to him as long as he could, because
I slapped the title on him.
He's probably and he did, and a good idea, because I think he's probably gonna be on everybody's radar.
Yes.
Now he is just
been on my radar for 2 years, guys.
No, I think after this match, like WWE's like, fuck, we missed this guy. It's like,
this
all
guy.
I'm saying is he's been on my radar for a long ass time.
I never watched DDT
now.
So
if he hasn't had eyes on him, he has them on him now, because my God, he was gotten there with 2 of the best in the world and just absolutely crushed it.
And he did it without doing it in their style. Like the actual in-ring work here was Ricochet and Ospreay were doing their flippy shit, and there was multiple points in this match where Takeshi's just knocking you out with an elbow. Like, he's just doing these forearm strikes that are just laying out these 2 guys, and they're selling it so well. I think people on Twitter were like, I could buy Takeshi's finish just him forearming you hard enough.
Oh yeah.
Like it's just they're sold it so well.
Ricochet, man. Ricochet is also so good at selling too, because he sells those shots like they're realistic. Like he just gets peppered every single time, and this is a good thing to see. He really helped Takeshita out in this match a lot.
Yeah. This match starts kind of funny because they're in the ring, and then Ospreay and Ricochet just kind of look at each other, and then they both jump Takeshita. It's like
that was good.
And this happens, I think, multiple times in this match too, where they're just like, all right, fuck it, let's just take this guy out. Ricochet and Ospreay do their classic like flip landing, and then Takeshita makes them both eat a drop kick, like as they're landing in it. Like it's all these classic moments we're familiar with, but then just Takeshita doing something to ruin them.
Yeah, him just adding his own flavor to this match.
He's that Plankton. I like ruining things.
Yeah. The back-to-back Sasuke specials. Takeshita kind of catches Ricochet, puts him on his shoulder. Will Ospreay comes over, takes out Takeshita. Ricochet goes for, I guess, one of his like rolling cutters and just eats a forearm like midair from it. And I think I was talking to you about this. Actually, I thought Ricochet is he's a floppy seller, which I think really just adds to the impact of the moves that he's taking.
He's kind of like Dolph Ziggler in that sense, where he's just kind of a good seller like that. Like
Flops,
he will flop and bump his ass off to sell a spot and make somebody look good, and that's just very appreciated.
The whole sequence on the apron, Takeshita hitting Ospreay with a Death Valley driver and then eating a double knee from Ricochet. They had the table set up and they just don't think about it for 5 more minutes. But then it comes back where Ricochet takes an insane spot through the table. There was one funny moment though before all that. He caught Ricochet into a powerbomb, and there's a very vocal "oh shit" from Ricochet as he as he's planted onto the floor. Funny. Yeah, and just Takeshita's forearm strikes, just laying out everybody like so convincingly. Like just in this match of 2 flippy guys, it's just this striker that is Takeshita. Then we get this crazy fucking sequence of running the ropes and all that, and Ospreay eats a clothesline and then lands it to set up for the cutter. And this crowd like just went crazy for that. It was just, God, these guys are so good at everything that they do. Ricochet eats a driver through the table on the outside, which was insane. Just Takeshita jumping from the apron with him. Just I wish I could trust somebody as much as Ricochet does. It's like in that situation. Then the finish here was Takeshita gets back in. I forget what happens. He kicks out at 1. The hidden blade. The ref gets pulled out by Don Callis. He sets up Callis for the Stormbreaker, but then Kyle Fletcher arrives to betray Will Ospreay. Still loyal to Don Callis. Takeshita hits a knee on him and pins him to be the new international champion. And then post-match, Fletcher hits Ospreay with Tiger Driver, and the Don Callis family leaves him out in the middle of the ring.
Was nasty.
It was nasty. I'm really interested to see where this goes. Takeshita's now a champion, and finally, he gets to go on a sweet work rate championship reign now, which I am excited for.
And we also finally get to see Kyle Fletcher move up to the next level. He is now going to be in a feud against his former best friend, Will Ospreay. And I expect that to be kind of a banger, honestly, because Kyle Fletcher is he's a fantastic talent. He is.
I think we're probably close to seeing a Mark Davis return, hopefully soon too. Putting them back in, tag team, or at least having Mark there to support a rising star in Kyle Fletcher now. So this match was so fucking good though, dude. Like I'm still seeing clips on Twitter about it. Like people are still talking about this match.
I mean, if this is probably in the top 10 of this year, honestly, because it's up there. It's a match of the year candidate. In a year full of match of the year candidates, and I think it's up there because this is probably one of the best triple threat matches I've seen in a while.
The 2023-2024 run of Ospreay needs to be studied. Like this man has just like an insane run of match quality.
It's so wild too because he isn't wrestling every single solitary day, right? But when he does wrestle, it's always quality.
He's always going 100%. It never feels like Ospreay's just phoning a match in. Seek out this match. Workhorse. Like, seek out this match if you haven't watched it. Ricochet being new to the company, I don't think it was time to put a title on him. Takeshita's definitely worked for this. There are reports coming out that a lot of the younger guys are making suggestions for finishing. I think one said Will Ospreay told Tony he wants Takeshita to get the title in this match. So it's just proving that Ospreay, Swerve, all of them are willing to play ball to build this company up. Because I think Swerve also, a report came out that Swerve told Tony, I wanted to tap out to Danielson. I don't want to pass out. Like, he wants to lose to Danielson to make him world champion.
Yeah, and these guys are displaying some teamwork. They want to do business. And I think I think this will work for the company in the long run, especially now they got Jimmy Jacobs out of there and seeing what he was responsible for. I think the company's gonna get better. I mean, nothing against Jimmy Jacobs. It's just the booking just wasn't.
A lot against Jimmy Jacobs. I read that shit.
Yeah. I think what this sets up to, after Will goes through his personal feuds of, Kyle Fletcher, maybe another rematch against Takeshita, whatever he has to do to get away from the Don Callis family. I think this is the beginning of his build up to the world championship scene and the new tyrant that is Jon Moxley being the world champion. Only because my mind's connecting, like, Moxley's calling himself a king and all that, and I'm like, well, Will's an assassin, so I mean, storyline wise, this just kind of fits thematically. And then, the main event scene's getting kind of crowded though, if you really think about it.
Yeah,
I mean, you got Jay White entering there. You got what?
We have and after this match, we have Swerve back, but I don't think he's going to be just thrown right back into the world scene. It seems like he's going into a different route for a feud and giving other people time to, be showcased after his reign.
But yeah, with Jay, you got what else you got?
We got Jay, we got Darby. Orange Cassidy's probably back in the
healthy
mix.
Main event scene building here, and they need to continue. They need to continue the course on this. Oh, Paige is also going to be in there shortly, so you got pretty much a good main event scene that you're building up.
Yeah,
and it helps. It helps a lot.
It does, and a lot of these guys, being willing to play ball. There's not a lot of ego between all these guys. Like, I feel like it's just going to benefit everything. Going forward
for sure.
Like I said, after this banger of a match, they give the audience time to cool down. We get a Swerve Strickland return in his hometown. Cuts a nice little promo, looking fresh as hell in his outfit that he came out. He's medically cleared to wrestle, and then MVP and Shelton show up. This is kind of the feud that they're building up to. It's him versus MVP and his faction. He plays around with the crowd a bit. We don't know if he's going to betray Nana or not. He jokes him a bit. He says, he knows he's been selling weed to high schoolers. Like, it's just clowning on Prince Nana and saying, I've lost all this shit with you, but I also had all this shit with you. And then saying, Nana's family. And he faces off with Shelton and MVP. A brawl follows. And yeah, we're definitely probably going to see Swerve and Nana versus MVP, Shelton, and eventually Bobby Lashley. And I personally believe that Swerve is going to need help. And there's a very obvious reason why they had Powerhouse Hobbs watching the MVP segment. I think we may get a Hobbs Swerve team in the future, which would be honestly pretty great in my book.
I
just want to see more Hobbs, dude. Like, the dude's been injured so much. I'm like, man, just be healthy and just take this moment if you get it, like, just go for it. But we know that Bobby Lashley's on the way, so I feel like Swerve is going to need some backup in this. And Hobbs is still, a young guy. This could definitely benefit him, going toe-to-toe with Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, MVP. It's just one of those things where it's like, let's build up another young guy and just see what happens. So that was a little cooldown period. Then we get to another banger.
2 out of 3 falls match.
I love this match because I don't watch a lot of traditional, like, Lucha Libre matches. But I could definitely tell watching this that this felt like a Lucha Libre match that I would see in, like, CMLL if I actually sat down to, like, watch it, Yeah, Hologram, undefeated. Going against the Beast Mortos. 2 out of 3 falls. And yeah, This is just, they're just like, you know what? Do lucha shit. Like,
Well, yeah. Well, I think they explained on commentary that this is kind of common down there in Mexico. I don't
yes.
watch a lot of AAA and CMLL, but if that's the case, they put on, for what it was, they put on a pretty good match. Like, I'm not really accustomed to watching lucha matches like that, but from what I saw, if this is how they do it down there, then I'm all for it. It was fun.
I think I made the comment during the watch party in the Discord that clearly, like, the pacing of it is not really hiding the fact that they're helping each other. But again, if this is like traditional lucha libre, I can get it. They want it to be safe. It's about to be a big spectacular spot. They want to make sure everybody's timed and all that. But these guys are so good together.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just Beast Morthos' stock just continues to rise for me. Like, this guy deserves to be in some title scene. I know when they ever did do interviews with him, he just grunts and growls, and I'm like, he's perfect. He's a perfect in-character wrestler. It's like,
love it.
So yeah, this the first fall, it goes to Hologram after an insane crucifix driver. And then Morthos kind of picks up the control here, and this man is insane for his size. Like, we saw him do the dive to the outside, and then like that little spin in midair, and I'm like, he shouldn't be moving like this. Like, and yet, yeah, he eats Hologram onto the stage. Hologram moonsaults from the top to Morthos. He hits the powerbomb knee and discus lariat combo that seems to be, one of his core movesets. He does it multiple times during this match. Enables to pick up a pinfall. So now we're at 1-1. And I think that's in like the first 5 minutes of this match. So
Yeah,
like
more
the
or
next
less.
like
This is a
10
short
the next
3 falls match.
16 minutes, but like the last fall was like a 10-minute wrestling match, basically. Hologram goes for a poison rana on the outside and completely smacks his fucking head on the apron.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw that spot, Deca, but Hologram goes to the apron to hit him with a poison rana and just smacks his fucking head on the apron.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I
was just like, all right, man, you're about an inch like too low on that poison rana there. But he gets up, fine, nothing. Can't see shit in the mask. A lot of mask adjusting from both guys in this match.
I just find it very impressive that Morthos can wrestle in that damn thing, because I don't really know what the hell that thing's made of.
I know his head is sweaty.
I know he's sweating his ass off in there too.
There's a picture of a Beast Morthos without his mask. He like took it in the mirror, but he had his face covered. And it's like him in just casual clothes and like everything but his face revealed. And it's like, oh no, he's hot. It's like,
no, all of these luchadors are hot.
Is that
what
that's
the
why?
Fuck?
That's why they hide, so they can be safely out in public and not.
I hate it here. Every single luchador who has taken off their mask.
You are beautiful and you're hiding it. It's like
fucking hot.
Did y'all think these guys were ugly or something underneath those masks?
No, but I now understand that. I now understand that luchadors do this so they don't steal the wives of people down in Mexico.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, I mean, yeah, I figure they're baseline attractive, but like they have a certain vibe that their mask puts off. Like,
yes.
Some of their vibes are like, I am, literally the spawn of Satan or a beast in Morthos' case.
Or a magician in Hecasero's
case.
Off
the mask and it's just fucking handsome Squidward under there.
Yeah, basically. It's just the handsome Squidward. Yeah, so the ending of this match, a nice like avalanche press slam onto Hologram into the backbreaker lariat combo. Hologram kicks out. Morthos eats another crucifix driver, but kicks out, and then the portal bomb is hit on Morthos for the 2-1 win for Hologram. Hologram still undefeated. Not quite sure where the end game goes here, but I'm glad that he's picking up some wins. I'm just like, what kind of title picture do you put him in? Your
guess is as good as mine at this point, because
he's not going to dethrone Okada. He's not going to dethrone Takeshita. He's definitely not going to dethrone Moxley.
Well, whatever the plans they have for him will probably materialize at some point next year. For now, I guess they're just trying to get him over right now and get him some wins so he can eventually challenge for a title.
Plans. They don't have
I'm pretty sure he doesn't
him.
either, but I'm trying to be optimistic. That
we don't even know if he's real. Like,
so I don't know what.
That's one of my favorite.
People will go in on WWE for like, oh, they don't have a plan with this guy. Why is he even on the pay-per-view? They don't have shit for hologram. They're giving him really good matches, letting him cook. So he's getting over with the fans, but they don't have any kind of creative plans for him right now.
I know. So whatever they decide to have for him, I don't think they'll be this year. That's all I'm saying.
TNT, like TNT Championship, he just beats up Jack Perry after a few more months.
No, I don't think so. Not even that.
Maybe Continental Classic, to get to Okada. I mean, he's definitely a performer. Like, he'll be in one of these tournaments that they run. But the thing is, for these
Okada's
titles,
going to lose that title. Okada's going to lose that title long before they even think of getting them the hologram. Probably. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with him. But like I said, it ain't going to be till next year. So for the rest of the year, he's just going to put on great matches, and that's about it.
Yeah. Great Lucha match. I even put in my notes. Lucha's wonderful. Like,
yes. This is, if we were talking about like anime or like tropes from anime, where the last one was like Jiren, Frieza, and in the wrestling version thereof. This is just the bits of like Dragon Ball Z where like Majin Buu and Goku just go and like they're going like 100 miles an hour, but nothing's actually happening.
Fair. This next match I enjoyed. I don't think it needed to be on the pay-per-view. It's still a great match to watch though. Darby Allin versus Brody King. The history built into this one is that Darby has never pinned or submitted Brody King, and they even went as far as doing AAW footage from other promotions to show like the rivalry that they've had. I thought that was a nice little touch too. It's like, hey, from these other promotions, here's their history.
I mean, Darby's been the punching bag in many, many, many promotions.
Oh, and I even brought my nose. Darby's strategy is just throw self at target. Like,
I mean, yeah.
And I mean, he took some punishment in this match too. It was absurd. I got scared because of the steps. I was talking to X about it. I was like, those steps are like light, right? Like they're very like a thin edge. And then when they flipped over, it's like they had welded on like wider supports, and I was like, okay, they took care of that. So
they don't cave in when what's his name falls on it.
And it's like I told you when we were watching it. It's like ever since that Hell in the Cell match with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, where he missed that Claymore and went like lower back first into the edge of the steps. I kind of made me a slight bit uncomfortable because that was kind of a similar thing that happened with Rick Rude and how he ended his career.
Yeah. So I think we talked about that during the Bad Blood episode too, of the lower back injury.
So again, tying back into that, step spots do make me a little nervous, but they did it in the safe way. We just landed like flat on the flat part of the stairs though. So I mean, it was fine.
Yeah, I think that was brought up to during the Jay White Hangman match. There was the power bomb onto the steps that was just like perfectly flat on top of the steps.
Yep.
So this is just Darby's plan is throwing himself at his opponent, and Brody's plan is throw Darby into the ring. Like,
throw Darby into everything he can.
Yes.
And we got to see both of these strategies on full display.
Yeah. Brody hits him with a German suplex from the middle rope and then goes to the top rope, which was insane. The amount of trust I would like to have in somebody to do that. But we watched it again when they did like the slow-mo, and Brody's falling back until he's like perfectly like horizontal, and then he lets Darby go. So Darby is just kind of like released perfectly horizontal too. Just showing like these guys are great. Like these guys are just showing like how well they're trained in what they do.
They're professionals.
At the end of the match, Brody hits Darby with a coffin drop as Brody gets back into the ring to beat the 10 count, lands right on Brody's back, and he gets the pinfall victory finally over Brody King. And then there's a sign of respect between the two of them. I'm here for any kind of Brody King, build up. Like,
Brody King is such a good person. Like, forget about wrestling. He's a good person.
Yeah, what was it? Julia Hart, like him and his wife were taking care of Julia Hart when they were on the road. Like, she was his travel dad and everything.
Yeah.
That's his wrestling daughter right there.
And it was funny after she lost the title too. He just like carried her out, like over his shoulder, just like
great,
carrying her away. But yeah, Brody King is just a fantastic person, and I mean, like I said, I want him to start getting, more spotlight, especially if we're going to see Malachi Black and Buddy Murphy leave eventually. Like if you dismantle House of Black,
not so much Buddy not so much because he just re-signed. But as far as Malachi Black goes, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, so like if you're going to lose like House of Black as a thing, at least let Brody King be like that monster on the roster for people to overcome,
Yeah.
Like Lance Archer was that during the first like 2 years, but now like Brody King is here and he could be that to, some of the baby faces that are coming up. Like, you have to topple Brody King and then, you can do anything. I liked it though. Like I said, I just don't know if it deserved a pay-per-view spot. But I don't think you're gonna put Darby on the pre-show,
No, he's a pillar after all.
Yeah.
And on top of it,
this was a pillar unlike Guevara.
And on top of it, this was his hometown, so of course they're going to give him.
So you got to put him on. That makes sense too. He's from there. You have to put him on. So why not let Brody put him over in his hometown? This tag team match was fantastic, but I feel like they missed the opportunity to call an audible. This crowd wanted Private Party to win this.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that they didn't, I felt like deflated the crowd going into these last 2 matches after this. Because this match was hot, the crowd was hot, and then after this you give us a Chris Jericho match, which I think kind of dulls the crowd. And then you give us a match where people are just concerned. So I feel like if you should have probably given them like a high point instead of just like pulling the rug out from under them here. Yeah. Private Party looked fucking great in this match. Like anytime they get an opportunity, Private Party just fucking shines. Mark Quinn is still a fantastic performer for his age. Isaiah Cassidy's great. And it's just like these guys could have just had like all this momentum behind them, but I don't know what the tag picture. Well, I think they also advertised that the Bucks are going to be back in Japan, so they probably wanted to keep the title on them too.
I'm going to say this. I don't think it's going to be the Outrunners beating these guys. I still think it's going to be Private Party, and I'm going to tell you why. This match right here was to build sympathy for them, and they did it in such a good way that I think the next time they wrestle, it's going to be Private Party taking those titles from them. Very similar to what they did with the Acclaimed years ago. Yeah. When they took that first loss and then, they came back weeks later, won the AEW tag team titles. Because when they win those titles, that is going to be the signature moment and the crowd is going to go wild.
Take a quick... We don't need to actually stop recording. I wanted to say, Sharky, you have a Dr. Pepper shirt and you're drinking a Coke.
Yeah, I know. Like, I don't have the thing at the house. I have a Coca-Cola. Let's get on with the episode.
He's betraying his brand.
Anyway.
But yeah.
I enjoyed this match. This was another really good match with a fantastic finish.
Yeah. So they go a lot of cool spots like just leading up to that finish. It's just like even there was moments where Isaiah Cassidy's like just 1v2ing and is still like fighting back against them. It's like we're seeing a fire in Private Party that we hadn't seen before. And I mean, I think this started even with the video package. They get the Private Party video package. Amazing Red. He's giving them like a hype up speech. And I asked X, I was like, they're fucking winning this, aren't they? Like that was the feeling I was getting going into this. I was like, you're really building up Private Party. Like the champions came out first. Like it was just, I was like, oh, this is it. This is their moment, and I think that just helped to build the finish here and how it affected the crowd. Cause it's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
They missed it.
I do agree with that. Cause I think they're going to be like a sympathy buildup.
Yeah. They're going to get the crowd behind them.
They're also involved in the Moxley thing because, Moxley said, egos and he wants to put fire under people. And I think this loss is probably just going to like pull out just more of a different side of Private Party now as they fight back for those titles. Like, I think it's just one of the things where all these storylines are going to start crisscrossing and affecting everybody. And it's just, I just want Private Party to win it. They've been there since day one, man. I think it's their time, you know?
And it's taken a long time to get these guys to this point, because it seemed like for years they were just kind of in the same place.
They were
in AEW.
They were tag team, and then Mark Quinn got injured, so Isaiah Cassidy was with Hardy, and then they're just kind of like he's just kind of like floundering until Mark Quinn came back, and they just hadn't had.
They've just kind of been where they were. I think this, with Moxley, giving him, I guess when he did that thing with Isaiah Cassidy, he said he was going to give him, a kind of what was that? He said it was going to give him some resistance or whatnot. Yeah. I think this is the beginning of them, going to that level where they can compete for those titles. Because they're no longer, they're not being silly anymore. They're not coming out. They're coming out with seriousness. They're coming out with aggression and an edge, which is what they've needed for a long time. Even they changed their theme song recently too. So, I mean,
yeah, they were like, no more shots.
Yeah, no more shots. They're prime. They're ready to go, man.
Yeah, their entrance didn't even have, I think, the guy with the gate like they usually have. Like they got rid of that too. So it's a great like subtle transformation out of these guys. And it just shows the resilience is being built up too, because there was what I thought was the finish where the EVP triggers hit on Isaiah Cassidy, and then he kicks out, like with Mark Quinn not even being in the ring, just like surviving the Bucks offense and all that, and the crowd just went fucking crazy when he kicked out of that.
Another one of those, holy shit, are they taking it?
Because then they tried to do the finish that has upset the Bucks twice. Mark Quinn went on the outside, tried to jump over, he got caught this time. And that kind of is what set up the finish here. Where they hit the TK driver on Isaiah, the Bucks retain, and then we get a nice lingering like focus on Private Party, and where just I want to see them take it, man. World's End, Full Gear, just pull the trigger, like. But that's the thing, I do trust them to pull the trigger at the right time, and I feel like the buildup might be more impactful than them just like winning here on a, on a Wrestle Dream.
I would build this up for about for the next few weeks of Dynamite and Collision.
Yep.
I think Full Gear is the right time to pull the trigger, because you're right, you're nearing the start of the year, and you want to go into the year with some fresh stuff going on. So normally they pull the trigger right around Full Gear. So
yeah, fantastic showing from Private Party. Again, I feel like these younger guys, they just when they're given the opportunity, they fucking take it. This next fucking match, I wrote 4 notes here for Mark Briscoe versus Chris Jericho, and it's nothing against Mark Briscoe. I just can't fucking deal with Jericho matches anymore. I made a note here that JR is not hitting. I think X and I had a discussion about this too in the Discord. Jim Ross is just not hitting like he used to, and I think the age is finally catching up to him.
Guys, I hate to tell you this, the age has been catching up to him since he was doing Japan commentary.
So it's not, he has moments, but it's not great anymore,
He's not, y'all gotta remember, like I said, JR is in his, 70s, pushing towards 80.
It's also post-stroke?
He's been dealing with post everything. He's had health issues. I think he went through a cancer scare recently. JR's energy just isn't there anymore. And then it's not really his fault. It's just time catching up to him. I tend to give him a pass on that. But that's why you got 3 other commentators there, and they have to pick up the slack most of the time. I think Nigel was there also, too, for most of the night, and he's just fantastic.
Yeah. My second note here was I cannot care for Jericho matches. The third note I had is from the crowd. Where were you on January 6th? Which was a really funny.
Some dude yelled that out.
It was very faint, but you can hear it on the camera. Some guy yelling from the crowd. Where were you on January 6th?
If you go to Botchamania, I think you go to Botchamania's Facebook, and Matthew picked that up pretty well too.
He insults Jay Briscoe by hitting Mark Briscoe, I think, with the Jay Driller. Mark Briscoe powers up, hits him with the Jay Driller, and then the Froggy Bow for the win. I mean, come on, Mark. Why is Jericho going after Ring of Honor? Like, it's just, I was like, this match doesn't need to be here. And then this shit show of a main event, and I mean that in the best way. Because this match is 27 minutes long, and the match after the bell is only about 20 minutes long. So, we get the final countdown. I wrote Tony Khan is paying out all the money for this. And the bell doesn't even ring, and they start fucking battling on the outside while the song's still playing.
I was going to say, the song kept going, which I thought was sick as hell.
It was. Saying it.
Yeah, they're just beating the shit out of each other. Yeah, they're just beating the shit out of each other to final countdown. It's really funny. The bell rings, the music stops. I think the crowd was like, boo, because they wanted to have the song playing the whole time. And yeah, this match is just two guys who were brothers beating the shit out of each other. Like, this match was brutal. From a pile driver on the Spanish announce table, which didn't break, which I'm not sure if that was the intent or not. I think those tables are built a little more sturdy, so probably not meant to break. Marina getting involved whenever the ref's back is turned. Moxley's back dropped on the cement outside the ring because Marina Shafir had pulled off the padding in their attempt to, take Bryan out. And it just turns into just these guys just fucking mauling each other. I mean, we're getting people biting each other, clawing each other. Danielson kicking Moxley while he's hanging from the turnbuckle. Moxley hits a fucking stomp on Danielson, which is also sweet as hell. It was clean as shit, too, to see that.
That was good.
Another Danielson hits a pile driver on Moxley, and Moxley sells it like he just fucking went paralyzed. Like, he just completely tenses up and sits up. It just doesn't move. I mean, the crowd's invested in this fucking match the whole way through. Marina finally gets caught. Yeah, there was no bias in it. Marina finally gets caught and thrown out. Danielson eats a cutter during it. Locks in the chokehold, but he climbs to the middle rope and then backdrops onto Moxley. Danielson eats a Death Rider and then kicks out at 1, which was insane. Then he hits the pile driver and moves on to a chokehold. And I think there was a slight botch on the finish. I think this was supposed to be the finish. But when the ref goes to check on Danielson to lift his arm, he calls for the bell as Danielson visibly moves his arms over his chest. So I'm like, well, he's not passed out. And I'm like, I know that was probably supposed to be the finish, but I feel like a little bit of that extra movement probably just kind of undersold it a bit.
A little bit.
A little.
Because then you see Bryce sitting there with the title, looking down trying, but it was even before the title came out, he looked kind of oh fuck, Danielson moved. That's on video. So I was like, oh yeah. God, did I fuck up? That kind of energy it felt like. But he played it off really well. He played it off really well of looking at the title oh God, what's happening now? Moxley's champion.
Yep.
Even Bryce is feeling oh no, this is not good. So post-match is Danielson's farewell, basically, as a full-time performer. The reports have come out. He has been working without a contract for a while. He has needed surgery. He said, I probably shouldn't have done a few of the matches leading up to this. But they basically lay out Danielson. Wheeler Yuta turns on him and chokes him out. The post-match beatdown brings out most of the baby faces, and we'll get to them because it's an interesting collection of people.
Yeah.
Moving forward. And we get the feeling of this in the Discord. I was like, this was the Infinity War ending, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is basically the pay-per-view where the hero dies.
This is Thanos wins.
Yeah.
The pay-per-view.
And I think Brian Danielson went out like an absolute legend, because he went out there. You know how when most wrestlers retire, it's like ceremonial and they lose the match, they raise the next guy's hand, like the passing of the torch or whatnot. This was none of that. Okay, Brian Danielson left this crowd without any hope for
this crowd was silent for most of this post match. Like this crowd was in shock.
They were shocked.
Like,
he left everybody devastated and depressed, and that really is how you end a run. Yeah.
Like it was very silent when they realized that Jon Moxley won.
Because I think it was just people were uncomfortable because they're seeing the bag spot again and they're seeing Danielson just get mauled by like his former teammates, and then like the baby faces start coming out, but they're kept out of the ring, so it's just harder to save Danielson. Speaking of those baby faces that came out, by the end of it, and we'll get to the closing shot because I think that's more interesting. The people who come out to help are Adam Cole, Orange Cassidy, Daniel Garcia, Hook, Mark Briscoe, Private Party, Darby, and Jeff Jarrett. And I feel like probably going forward, Jeff Jarrett's going to be the first person that Moxley mows through in his title reign.
Mm-hmm. Kills. That's you too.
He's going to kill Jeff Jarrett. The closing shot of this is it is Daniel Garcia, Orange Cassidy, Hook, and Darby as the closing shot of this pay-per-view. And AEW has done foreshadowing before. I mean, their first banner for their event, like the first big pay-per-view they did, had Hangman, Jericho, Kenny, and Moxley, and those are your first four, AEW champions. So I'm seeing these four younger guys here, and I'm just like, they're going to be the focus of this Moxley story, aren't they?
Yeah, because they're pretty much because now that the hero has fallen, a new hero has to step in his place, to battle the tyrannical Jon Moxley. And they're pretty much giving you four different people as to who it could be.
Yeah.
It could be Darby, Orange, Hook, Daniel Garcia. I think that's pretty much the future of their main event division right there. And it's pretty much telling you that with that closing shot. Because one of them is going to step up to Jon Moxley, and two of them already have history with him.
That ties in. Yeah, and that ties in too, because there was a video package, I think, on Dynamite before this pay-per-view of Jerry Lynn talking to Orange Cassidy, saying like, you have to do what you got to do. You got to be a leader and all that. And Cassidy having that history of, losing his title to Moxley. I'm just like, are we going to get like Moxley and his party versus like Orange Cassidy and his team for like maybe a Blood and Guts or a War Games?
Maybe
something like that. So, I mean, that's what I think would be I think that'd be a great, match for that. Just like team versus team again. But it's a very interesting 4-person shot at the end of this pay-per-view. And I'm like, I think this is their investment for the next year. These four guys, building them up. So, I mean, Hook's out of the FTW situation. Daniel Garcia just came back as in a feud with MJF. Darby lost his title reign to Moxley. Orange Cassidy has history with Moxley and Wheeler. I think that's the biggest thing. Orange Cassidy has history with Wheeler Yuta. So I'm just like, I'm interested to see where all this goes. But they showed the promotional image for Dynamite tomorrow, and it's just Jon Moxley is the new champion. Nobody is safe. Like, which is also, they threw the title in a bag too after they got it. Like, they're holding it for ransom.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with that, honestly, because as far as I know, for most of this thing that ever since Moxley came back, for most of this story, I've had no clue what they were doing with him. And the thing, them putting that AEW title in the bag, I'm like, I don't know what the purpose of that is either.
There's also
maybe they'll get into that.
Also, they didn't have the trio. They didn't have the trios titles with them either.
No, they didn't.
I'm just like, are they just gonna start holding like these titles ransom until they feel like somebody's worthy enough to try to fight for them? It's like all these things. Like, there's too many egos. There's too much complacency. They want to add resistance to this roster. So I'm interested to see where all this goes. I'm interested in seeing a heel run from Moxley like this because, when he left WWE, he was in a heel run. that was awful. But
They made him too silly though.
I think this is Moxley like not being a just like badass that fights everybody. I think this is like full heel Moxley time.
This is Moxley who will kill you if you get in his way.
This is Moxley the Tyrant, is what this is. Or as MJF calls him, Dictator John.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm waiting for Eddie Kingston to come back so we can get another image of Eddie Kingston addresses his enemies. But it's still one of my favorite Dynamite cards that they've like promoted. Just Eddie Kingston addresses his enemies.
And he still hates
95% of the AEW locker room.
Oh, yeah. Eddie's just watching this like, fuck you, Claudio. Like, just Eddie's watching everything just fall apart and he's sitting there with a broken ankle. Like, I need the king back. I need the Mad King to take on the other king. Like,
and I need an assassin to kill both of them.
Yeah. I think an ending of all this could be Moxley, Ospreay. I think Ospreay is going to be given enough time to get through his own shit, but I think he is also just a natural fit for the world champion. It doesn't feel like he needs a lot of, work to get over. He doesn't need promo work. He can cut a good promo. He has presence. It's just one of those things.
I think it's going to be Moxley and Ospreay at the Japan show in January.
Ultimately, I feel like Darby. If I was a
betting person, I would put it on that.
Ultimately, I feel it's probably Darby taking the title off of him in terms of storyline. I think so too. I just don't know where we get that though. Like what pay-per-view we get that at.
Probably the All In. It'd probably be months from now. I don't know if it's gonna be double or nothing to All In July, but I think ultimately it's going to be Darby that rises up and beats Moxley for the title, because I think that's kind of the direction of where they're going.
Yeah, and it will just it would just be like, hey, here you go, man. You've been with us. You've done everything basically. So, and I mean, the crowd loves Darby. Everybody loves Darby. So it's like, even though people will complain about his size or his haphazardous nature of throwing himself at things, I think as a world champion, like, people will cheer him, But yeah, a fantastic pay-per-view that starts with a really good match, has a great fucking middle, and then just this depressing as shit ending. Moving forward. And yeah, it's just gonna be a crazy next few months.
Yeah.
We still have a Full Gear and World's End. So I don't think Moxley's probably gonna have a 3-month title reign with this character. I don't feel like that makes a lot of sense.
No, you got to build him up for a while, because I think whoever beats Moxley is going to be the new face of the company, and I think it's pointing towards Darby at this point. So, yeah, I would keep the title on Moxley for as long as he can.
Yeah. So yeah, I am excited for the landscape moving into Full Gear. Some new champions, some retaining champions. The returns are good. The change of the status quo has me interested. Like, it's going to be fun. Or it's just going to be depressing. Moxley's probably just going to kill somebody at the end of every episode. So,
basically,
full Squid Games.
Squid Games. But yeah, I really like this pay-per-view.
It was good. Every match had a memorable finish. If not a good finish, a memorable finish.
Yeah, I thought this was I thought this was a really good pay-per-view, Yeah, I just like the fact that they're starting to heavily invest in storytelling. I think that was much needed from AEW for a while. Clear, concise storytelling. And now I'm interested, Now we're going to see just exactly where they take all of these stories moving forward, with Darby and Moxley, or anybody else with Moxley for that matter, the entire BCC versus AEW in general, Garcia, MJF, Adam Cole.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think they're going to run back Adam Cole and MJF at World's End. Like, it's almost coming up on 1 year since the betrayal. So going into that with the roles reversed, would probably be a fantastic, capstone on that. So they can just move on to new
and I
things.
think Garcia is going after the TNT title. So
Don't forget, we also still have what's his name? Undisputed, waiting in the wings for Adam Cole.
Yeah, Matt Taven. Roderick Strong, Matt Taven, and Mike Bennett are still there. Wardlow is apparently out with an injury again, which sucks. The guy just can't catch a break, it feels like. And yeah, so there's still some people on the side here. And yeah, can't wait. What is our next? We do this every episode. What is our next? It's the WWE.
Should be.
No, I think it's Full Gear. I think Full Gear's first, and then we have Survivor Series on the 30th.
Right, because I don't think we're not doing
next one's Crown Jewel, but
we're not doing Crown Jewel.
Nope.
So
whatever Full Gear is on.
So Survivor Series is November 30th. I think Full Gear is like the week before that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yes, it is. So it'd be Full Gear into Survival Series. So that's going to be fun. That's going to be a fun back-to-back week.
Once again, 2 at a time.
2 at a time. 2 at a time. They just keep doing it.
I think
December. I think December we have 3. So.
Oh God, we do, huh?
Yeah, because we have World's End. I think we have World's End. I like how I can just go through a list of AEW events because it's only been 4 years and a few pay-per-views each year instead of going through WWE's, which is 91 to now, and it's 12 events a year. Yeah, just trying to scroll through.
I don't think WWE has a December pay-per-view unless I missed that.
I don't think they actually do either. Yeah, Full Gear the 23rd, World's End the 28th of December.
And then after that, we have the Royal Rumble in January. February 1st.
The Royal Rumble.
It's in February this year or next year.
It is February 1st.
I hate that.
So yeah, Survivor Series or Full Gear into Survivor Series into World's End into the Royal Rumble would be the next 4 episodes. If we're not doing Wrestle Dynasty, which is Tokyo, so the time for that is going to be fucking weird.
Unless you want to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and start watching that.
It's not going to be 2 a.m. It's going to be 3. It's going to be 3 or it's going to be at
4 a.m.
earliest. It'll be
4 a.m. Yeah, from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. in the morning.
Yes.
So yeah,
and then
pretty early still.
And then Grand Slam Australia, which I feel is probably going to be an equivalent to a B show.
Yeah.
Unless they do full stadium show quality, but it's a month build. You probably get
they're also not in a great Australian city for wrestling.
Brisbane.
Yeah, they're in Brisbane, and as far as I know, it's a bad selection, and it's also it's not a good look for that show. I don't think.
No, I feel like it is just going to be the equivalent of a B show.
It's just going to be a fancy Dynamite.
Yeah, I don't see them throwing on a 9-card match of bangers. I feel maybe 6 matches. Some hometown heroes Buddy Murphy probably showing up here.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Bring out the Australians brings out 2 people.
Bring out the Australians. Bring out the New Zealand. Where's Jay White? But yeah, it's just okay. So we have 4 within the next few months. Fun times.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fun times. All right. Well, I have nothing else to say about this pay-per-view. Unlike our usual recording, we're recording this on a Tuesday, so we're not going to be hey, we're going to go watch Dynamite now and see what happens. We got to wait till tomorrow for that.
However, NXT is cooking with Stephanie Vaquero's debut.
They've started doing the promotional video for Delta, the Australian wrestler that they had signed. If I know her nationality. But they're presenting her as like a monster, like coming in, you know, like her promotional video has her beating up a group of like wasteland fighters, like it's like Fallout-esque.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
And she's looking like, you know, in war paint and stuff like that too. So the women's division is getting kind of deep in NXT. I just hope that they can, you know, carry that on a bit. Here I have these 3 powerhouse stars of women show up, and then it's just like, okay, which one of the trainees is getting fucking destroyed this week? Like
all of them.
All of them.
Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. Wrestling is again in a good place. AEW feels like it's picking up momentum again. People are always going to complain about viewership numbers, but the quality of the show is still there. So,
I don't give a fuck about viewership numbers.
I don't either.
I don't give
Some people look at
Things
those.
haven't mattered in 15 years.
I wish people get up. We're living in a streaming era. Once this stuff starts streaming on Max, it ain't gonna matter. You know, because you got Raw going to Netflix, you got AEW and Collision, Dynamite Collision going on Max. Nobody gives a fuck about ratings. Okay,
If Warner Brothers was concerned, they wouldn't have renewed AEW.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like
once it gets, like I said, more people on streaming than there are on cable because cable sucks nowadays. Okay,
it does.
Nobody has it that much anymore. So everybody just needs to relax and shut the fuck up, okay? About numbers and ratings.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. It's like, okay, so are you guys like watching the show though? Like the show is the entertaining thing. It's like
yeah, they're doing everything but watch the show. It's bizarre.
You all literally giving the company money to take pictures of seats. And it's weird.
I love those people. It's like, hey, look, I'm at the Dynamite taping. Where's everybody? It's like, well, first of all, the ring says Ring of Honor, so that's pre-show. And also, you paid to go. So what the fuck? It's like, motherfucker, you're at the empty show. Like, the thing, it's like the show's empty, but you're there. Like it's so fun. We say this every episode, but like, just watch the fucking wrestling. Stop caring about all the business side of it. That's none of your concern. More companies means more opportunities, which means more people get noticed. You know, if we didn't have indie promotions, people wouldn't know who Delta is. You know, if we didn't have other if we didn't have other wrestling companies in the world, people wouldn't really know Julia or Stephanie. You know, it's the more we have, the more opportunities wrestlers have, the more they can be discovered. And it leads to everybody fucking winning. Was it Rising Tide lifts all ships?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So the more that wrestling succeeds, the more everybody in it succeeds. You know? I mean, people forget the 90s boom. Both companies were red hot, and it was the best era ever. And now we kind of have a rivalry back, and people are always going to be like, well, the viewership. And it's like, well, no, like the companies are rivals. People are choosing to sign with one or the other now. Like, it's actual competition again. So both sides have to be at the top of their game.
Also, they can't possibly be rivals if the NXT production crew is actively watching Dynamite.
Yes.
Yeah. As well as the wrestlers too, because they got significant others and they're fans of that show also. Yep. They've gone to these shows before.
I want to believe that even though he talks shit about it, I want to believe Seth Rollins watches AEW. So when he saw Moxley stomp Danielson, he probably did like the Leo on the couch, like the pointing at the screen. A fun little statistic too that somebody pointed out: when Danielson left Raw, he wrestled Seth Rollins. His final appearance on SmackDown, he wrestled Roman Reigns, and his retirement match was Jon Moxley. Like, Danielson believed in the Shield. So, and I mean, they are
the favors to everybody in the Shield.
He did the favors to everybody in the Shield. So it's team players, man. Just if everybody's a team player, companies can shine. So, but yeah, we will see you guys in a few weeks for the next episode. I know if you like watching these episodes and the lack of weekly uploads is kind of annoying, but like I said, we only cover pay-per-views, and we're not going to cover every company's pay-per-views because we'd be here all the time watching wrestling, and then eventually we'd get tired of it. So,
also, yeah.
I don't know what I'd do if I had to be like, all right, we watched Bad Blood last week, and then it's like, fuck, I gotta watch a New Japan and a Mexico and something else this week just to talk about it. Like, that shit would suck. I'd be so tired all the time. I was like, I don't want to fucking watch wrestling anymore, man. Like, but yeah. So these episodes are kind of sporadic, but you know, we do what we can for you guys. Give you a nice long episode if we could help it. Hear our thoughts, and if there's anything you guys want to talk about, you know, we have video on YouTube where you can put your comments. I think you can comment now on Spotify too under podcast episodes. So, you know, if you guys want to give us some feedback or talk to us about your favorite moments, we'd love to see that. As our usual thing, we do have a video podcast, which if you're on YouTube, you're watching it right now. But if you want to listen to it, we have it on podcatcher services. If you guys are listening on any podcast service like Spotify or whatnot, we have a YouTube channel where you can watch the Discord call of the podcast.
Yep.
And yeah, just multiple ways of doing it. So, but we will talk to you guys in a few weeks for the next event. You guys have anything final to say?
Nope, that's it.
Nope, I'm good.
All right, guys. Well, we will see you all later. Stay lovely,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye-bye, guys.